Parshat Shemot, we find the birth of Moshe Rabbeinu. I'd like to focus in on a very fascinating pasuk at the beginning of the second parak. Pasuk says, "Vayelech ish mi beit Levi, vayikach et bat Levi." A man went from the house of Levi, and he took of daughter of Levi, and she gave birth to a boy. And it speaks about how she was unable to hide him, and how she makes a wicker basket for him, and how the sister watches this basket in the Nile, and when the daughter of Paro, which we spoke at length about last year, finds this basket, the daughter goes and calls the mother to be the person to nurse this child. The question that the Tiferet Shimshon raises, based on the Mefarshim and many approaches to this question, but it's a very important question. He says in source 3, "V'hinei l'mar be'apela," it's a wonder. When the Torah is describing the birth of Moshe Rabbeinu, Go Alam Shel Yisrael, the Redeemer of Israel, it doesn't say the names of the individual. Vayelech Amram Vayikach et Yocheved. And we know whom his parents were, as we will discuss Mirz Hashem at the end of the Shir. In Perek Vav, in the 6th chapter, when it talks about how Moshe Rabbeinu and Aaron go out to lead the people, it gives us a very precise genealogy of their family and mentions Amram and Yocheved by name. So the question is, if the Torah already is going to mention their names in the 6th chapter, why not mention it when it actually happens here in this chapter? Why do we have Vayelach Ish? And the Rav Pinkus continues by saying it's fascinating that no names are mentioned here. We know Miriam's name. It just says Vatsev Achoto Merachok, his sister. We know Batya's name, the daughter of Paro. It just says Bat Paro. In fact, Moshe Rabbeinu, who we know had many names, is only called Moshe because he was Mashui. He was drawn from the water. It's like he was this nameless child who gets his name from being drawn from the water. Vadavar omer darsheni, mara tatara lastira shmoteim, shokol elu, muravim begulat Yisrael b'Mitzrayim. Why is it that the Torah is hiding, so to speak, the names of the individuals whom we know who were involved in the Exodus from Egypt? Particularly, I'd like to focus on this first pasuk of Vayelech Ish mi beit Levi, Vayikach et bat Levi. A man from the house of Levi, so general, so anonymous, went and took a daughter from the house of Levi. Before we begin to respond to this question, and we're going to look at it on 4 different answers, I'd like to first paint us a picture a bit of when we're talking about this Bat Levi, this daughter of Levi, Yocheved. We have to understand, Amram, we know, was the Gadol Ador. He was the greatest of the generation. He was one of the 4 that the Gemara describes that died because death came to the world. But he was sinless, he was blameless. Who was Yocheved, his wife? So Aryeh Leib Hyman, the Rav of the Gra Shul in Veit Vegan, in a very special Sefer Chikrei Leib in Parshat Va'era, speaks about Yocheved in general, and says it's very rare that the Torah is going to mention the name of a woman, and because you speak about her, at least in Torah we have a story about her, we have something about her. What is it about Yocheved? So he notes that Levi, Yocheved's father, was one who we know primarily responsible for the whole incident of Yosef. Shimon and Levi were the one, Vayom Ish al Achiv, one man said to his brother, let us go, let's go throw into one of the pits. And Levi, we also know, was one of the distinguished member of the tribe of Yaakov Avinu. As it says in the end of verse 4, Hivdil et Levi, the Rambam tells us, Uminahu rosh voshivu b'yeshiva l'lamed derech Hashem. Levi was the one, and we know they were not subject in Egypt to the same slavery that the rest of the Jewish people were. They were the distinguished tribe who were there in order to serve Hashem. And therefore the individual Levi, when he contemplated what he had done in terms of the sale of Yosef, and recognized the repercussions of this action Parshat, in terms of the slavery and the upcoming golus of the Jewish people, named his children based on this reality that he, so to speak, had a major part in creating. And that's why in source 5, his eldest son is called Gershon, from the language of Gavos, of being strangers, Kahat, from the lashon of Hak'ah, Gomet Shinav, to knock at his teeth, to blunt his teeth, and clearly Merari, which is like Miriam, bitter. But when this daughter was born, he called her Yocheved, which has the letters Yud Vav, which are part of the Yud Kei Vav Kei, the letter Kavod, the word of honor. In her, he saw great honor. In her, he saw that she was going to bring honor to God and be able to bring back some of the honor that had been lost in the sale of Yosef. And we see indeed that in the story of the Miyaldos, the story